that was one of the cleaner ball games we've played. We really played a good ball game, offensively, defensively, ran the bases well, a lot of timely hits, good at bats. You know, we played very good and we pitched good, and you know, when you do that, you're usually going to win.
Reds celebrating 5 consecutive victories, and they've won 8 of their last 10. They'll try and make it 3 straight over the Cubs here today, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati. Cubbies and the Reds, round 3 of 4 here on this Saturday late afternoon. Hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Brian Giesenslaw. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds baseball. It's been fun to watch. This team's playing really, really well last night. And, you know, we talked a little bit, Chris, in the postgame on Reds Live last night about David Hernandez and Jared Hughes and the lift that they have brought to this Reds bullpen.
You know, it's just sometimes, Tom, the little things can change a big picture. And that's really what's happened with the bullpen this year. They've gone from being the worst bullpen in baseball for the last 4 or 5 years to being a bullpen that throws zeros on the board. The other night when Jared Hughes came in, picked up a save, an inning and a third of 2 strikeout baseball. He's throwing a sinker that they're trying to lift. They just can't get that ball in the air. And then David Hernandez last night, I mean, how much better can you get than the outing that he had last night? 2 innings, didn't give up anything except a couple of strikeouts, had a really good breaking ball, overpowering fastball that he's got great finish on. These 2 guys, both veterans, have done, you know, you talk about chemistry and how they're going to bring the young guys along and all that, but what they do on the field is where their real leadership shows.
All right, let's turn to starting pitching. That's been a lot better for the Reds of late as well, and perhaps not just coincidence ever since Anthony DeSclafani has returned from a disabled list.
Well, it's been a long time. Remember, he missed all of last year on the disabled list. He missed the first 2 months of this year with an oblique injury. So when you ask a guy to come off the DL from being on it that long, the rest of the league is already at full speed in mid-season. So it's a little tough to catch up. But boy, he threw the ball really well his last time out. That was in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. He's got a good sinker going. What I was really impressed with is he's got that feel of that 2-seam fastball on either side of home plate down around the knees, and down there is where he has to live.
We'll see if he can do that today. Luke Farrell, who was with the Reds for a short time last year, will start the game today for the Cubs. When we come back, does it get any better than big swings and a little salsa?
Not as hot as we make our way back to the ballpark today, hoping for win number 3 against the Cubs. This would make it 6 in a row. And weather needs to cooperate, right? 4:10 game time. Remember to bring your cans to the game too. We have a first pitch at 80 degrees, looking ominous, but showers and thunderstorms are unlikely. It's a slight chance and very hit or miss, less likely to see storms than shower action. So game should go on without an issue. 7th inning at 78, final out at 77. Enjoy.
Welcome back inside Great American Ballpark. You know, during the Reds' 5-game winning streak, they've averaged nearly 7 runs a game. Scooter Gennett leads the National League in batting average. Joey Votto leads the National League in on-base percentage. And let's take a look at the numbers for Eugenio Suarez, leading the league with 57 RBI after the pair he drove in last night. Top 3 in home runs as well. And when you assume 4 ABs per game, these numbers indicate that Suarez is a pretty good bet to drive in 1 every time he takes the field for a start for the Redlegs. And more often than not, he has done that. That brings us to our IGS bringing the energy. The highest at-bat per RBI ratio before the All-Star break, going all the way back to 1933. You can see that Eugenio Suarez is in amongst the greats of the Big Red Machine. Perez, Morgan, Foster, and Bench. And right now the Reds continue to ride his hot bat as well as the rest of the order for Jim Riggleman in search of win number 6 in a row here this afternoon. Reds and Cubs are all set for Saturday afternoon baseball. Back to Tom and Chris for the first pitch when we come back.
Brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup. Only your tri-state Chevy dealer. By Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. And by Step Up to GMC with nearly $4,000 purchase cash on an Acadia Denali when you finance through GM Financial. Reds come in rolling right now, Mr. Welsh, having won 8 of their last 10, including 5 in a row.
They got a little momentum. I think they feel good about themselves right now. They feel like that they can play with anybody. I mean, it's one thing going out and sweeping the Detroit Tigers here at home. The Tigers weren't a good ball club, but hey, this Cubs ball club, they had dominated the Reds, for the last couple of years now, and they thought they would get back and get healthy playing in Cincinnati. It has not happened at all. The tide has turned. The worm has turned, and DeSclafani on the mound. Hopefully, get a lot of worm burners today with that sinking fastball.
This will be DeSclafani's fourth start since being activated from the disabled list. He was reinstated the first week of June and started against Colorado. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. In his next start against St. Louis, 5 innings again, 10 hits, 3 runs. But only 2 runs his last start, pitching into the 6th. Joe Madden's starting lineup for the Cubbies at 42 and 31. La Stella the nod at third base. Hayward and right. Zobrist again at second. Rizzo at first. Contreras behind the plate. And Schebler, or Schwarber, I beg your pardon, is in left field. The latter third of Russell, Happ, and Farrell. What have you thought of Anthony DeSclafani's stuff since returning?
Well, you know, it's interesting because he knew the challenge that was ahead of him. He knew that he was seeing these teams in midseason form, and that he had to be very careful with leaving balls out over the plate. But he's got nice action on his fastball, DeSclafani does, and he's made some adjustments. He's basically switched out his cutter, which is what he threw in 2016, for more of a slider, which is a little bit slower, more downward break. I think the other thing that you may see today is DeSclafani working in a pitch that he's been waiting for, which is his curveball. Gives him 2 speeds on his breaking pitch. He's got a good fastball and a changeup, plenty enough to get the hitters out. It's all up to location for him today.
DeSclafani making his 8th career start against the Chicago Cubs, his first since July of 2016, nearly 2 full years ago. And it's ball 1 high to Tommy La Stella, the third baseman, filling in for Chris Bryant. And this Saturday afternoon, June the 23rd, contest is underway. Straight up into the air. Scooter Gennett back in the Reds lineup. He'll turn and watch the right fielder Winker come in to make the play. 1 out. And we look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. It is Winker, Hamilton, Duvall again in the outfield. Blandino starts for Peraza at short. He got the nod for Scooter at second last night. And Tucker Barnard back behind the plate. Blandino batting in the leadoff spot today for the Reds. Today is his 5th start in the major leagues at shortstop. Jason Hayward smokes one down the left field line, but foul. What a roll this guy's been on. Better than a 370 batter.
You know, when he first came into town, he was struggling so much that he was taking a lot of pitches because he just didn't see the ball. He had a lot of head movement and too much hand movement. Now look how still he is. His hands are already in a good position to hit. Earlier in the year, he was starting them kind of out in front of his body and then trying to get them back, but never really got them back into a good loading position. It's getting a little different now, and his confidence has soared.
Up and away, 2 balls and a strike. He has a batting average up in the high 270s, 4 home runs, 30 runs batted in. And there you see what he's done the last 20 games, a 353 average. On the ground through the middle. Scooter pops to his feet and throws him out in time. Beautifully done by Scooter Gennett.
Well, when you're a sinker ball pitcher like DeSclafani, this is the kind of thing that you really depend on, because you get the ball on the ground, you hope it doesn't find its way into a hole for a hit. Scooter covers a lot of ground. He slides. Boy, look how quick he pops up to make that play. Guy's a gamer.
So 2 down for the second baseman, Ben Zobrist. This pitch swinging, hooks it foul. 286 average, 4 home runs, 25 backed in.
Cubs are coming right out of the batter or the on deck circle swinging the bat, aren't they? They realize that DeSclafani is going to throw a lot of strikes. And they also realize he throws a lot of first pitch fastballs.
Told you last night that of players that had had at least 100 at bats in this ballpark through their careers, Zobrist has the highest OPS of any player that's ever played here as a visitor. Xavier Nady, the one big surprise on that list. Nothing surprising about Berkman or Tulowitzki. Two and two to Zobrist. Got him swinging in a real nice start for Anthony DeSclafani. 1, 2, 3 to get it started. First inning for Chicago and Jim Riggleman's lineup. Reds winners of 5 in a row reads as follows: Blandino, Barnhart, Votto. Jeanette in the cleanup spot, back in the lineup today. Suarez at third, Winker at right, a ladder third of Duvall, DeSclafani, and Hamilton. Last year, Luke Farrell was released by the Kansas City Royals. The Reds picked him up. And then when they decided to leave him off their roster over the wintertime, the Cubs decided to swoop him up. He is the son of longtime Red Sox manager John Farrell, who of course now works in the Reds organization. Farrell's pitched in 12 games out of the bullpen so far this year. Pitched in 10 games between the Reds and the Royals a season ago.
It's kind of an emergency start for Farrell. He has not started in the major leagues. He's a guy that has been their long man out of the bullpen. And at the bottom of their starting rotation right now, the Cubs are in somewhat of a quandary. So they look to Farrell today to give him 4 or 5 innings to see if they just can't get him to the back end of the bullpen a little bit. And you got to make him throw strikes, number one. He's not overpowering. He'll throw a lot of high fastballs inside to left-handers. His splitter is his best off-speed pitch.
You may remember on September the 23rd last year when the Red Sox came to town, Farrell pitched in that game a scoreless 9th inning, thus becoming the first major league player to appear in a game against his manager father since Moises Alou of the Cubs faced his dad Felipe as manager of the Giants back in 2004. What a memorable day that was for father, son, and
really
entire
was.
family.
I mean, if you didn't feel some emotion seeing this, I mean, you just don't get it. I mean, the tip of the cap by his dad to his son as he walked off the mound, did not give up a run in that inning. A lot of storylines going on.
Now Farrell pitched 5 innings of relief. That was a career high just a couple of weeks ago on June the 2nd in New York against the Mets. held the Mets scoreless from the 9th through the 13th innings. Swinging a foul ball out of play, and thus he earned the win in that 14-inning 7-1 Cubs victory. And those are the numbers from that outing. Very good. So already be the 8th pitch of this at bat to Alex Blandino. And Farrell turns it loose. Ball 4, and a good way to get it started for Blandino. Chicago on defense, presented by Ford. We'll go with Happ, flanked by Schwarber and Hayward. Russell back in the lineup. He was out of there last night. La Stella fills in for Bryant. And Contreras back in the lineup. La Stella, another one of those guys like Baez and like Ben Zobrist, you can pretty much play him anywhere. So at third base today. High fly ball, pretty well hit. Right center field, 2-0 Red Legs.
Well, the extended at bat gave Tucker Barnhart a little extra look at Farrell. Obviously, he knows Farrell, having seen Farrell on the team last year. And even though Luke tries to throw that ball up around the letters, he got that ball down in a great hitting zone for Tucker. And that ball is launched.
Two batters, 2 runs. Home run number 5 for Tucker Barnhart. Joey Votto first pitch swinging into foul ground over on the third base side, and La Stella tries to go in and get it. Did he? Did he get this ball? Are you kidding me? What a play by Tommy La Stella.
I mean, this is about 2 rows deep right here. He goes over the first row into the second row to make that catch. Boy, is that a good effort.
So his teammate immediately applauding Addison Russell, who had come over there, and what a play by La Stella. Here's Scooter Gennett. 335 batting average, 13 home runs, 50 runs batted in. A rare off day yesterday for Scooter Gennett. One ball and 2 strikes. Billy ducking underneath that one and tell him, hey man, hit it the other way. Gone swinging is Gennett on a pitch out of the strike zone, second out of the inning.
Scooter got a little anxious on that one.
You know, there were a lot of rumors early in the season, and then of course the way the Reds started this season, that if the team was going to make a managerial change, that with the hiring of John Farrell as a special assistant and a scout in the Reds organization where he's now employed that, you know, there might be a chance he would be the next manager of the team if they were going to make a change. They subsequently made a change, and obviously we know what's happened since then. But I would imagine that he'll get some interviews once the offseason rolls around again. He might even interview for the Reds job. Who knows, unless they make a decision to go ahead and remove that interim tag from Jim Riggleman's title.
I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. I know the one thing that John Farrell has kept a very low profile here since joining the Reds. Not like he's hanging around the stadium and meeting with the players and meeting with the coaches and so on, at least not visibly.
I've only seen him in town one time since he was named as a scout and assistant for the team. He was in town for, what, a 2-3 game series, and we saw him up here in the press box level. We understand he is not here today. That's too bad.
That doesn't mean he's not tuning in.
That's right.
I can tell you that.
In fact, last year he missed a game when his son made his major league debut for the Kansas City Royals while John, the dad, was still managing in Boston. And that was the only career start before today. That was last year, his major league debut for Kansas City against the Twins. Young man who grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, went to St. Ignatius High School, one of the great athletic schools in the state of Ohio. I mean, he's a Cleveland guy. He's not like his dad was just there a year or two. He went to high school there. He was born in Cleveland and finished high school in Cleveland, and wound up pitching collegiately at Northwestern, so perhaps only fitting he would pitch for both the Reds and the Cubs, with Ohio ties and Chicago ties. 3-2 on Suarez. Northwestern well represented in the major leagues. Jay Happ having an excellent year this year in Toronto, and we've seen Contos through the years. Good pitcher. Gone swinging Suarez, an 8-pitch at bat, but a leadoff walk to Blandino, and long ball time for Tucker. 2-0 Reds at the end of one.
To start the day, the Reds' top prospect, number 2 overall in 2016, Nick Senzel, rated one of the top prospects in all of baseball. injured last night in a game for the Louisville Bats, a torn tendon in his right index finger. He'll have surgery on Tuesday. And given the fact that he'd been on the disabled list earlier with vertigo, he had come back very strong, an 11-game hitting streak. And overall, his numbers on the season, very, very impressive. But his season is over. They estimate a 3-month recovery time. And then hopefully Nick Senzel is good to go for spring training.
Boy, that is tough news. It's been a rough year for Senzel. I mean, obviously the last couple of weeks, those numbers speak for themselves. And big, huge prospect, but here in 2018 and frequently on the field, I certainly wish him well. A pop-up to begin the inning off the bat of Rizzo to Duvall in left field, and now it's Wilson Contreras, a .262 batter, 4 home runs. Fastball by DeSclafani to get ahead 0-2. Number of games already underway around baseball, including the Cardinals and the white-hot Brewers. Brewers have won 3 in a row. They have opened a 2-game lead over the Cubs, sitting atop the National League Central. Beat St. Louis again last night. St. Louis reeling right now. They're just 2 games over the 500 mark. And I'm guessing some of the rain we've had here in the last 24 hours or so made its way into Pittsburgh, because that game is delayed between the Diamondbacks and the Pirates. Arizona beating Pittsburgh last night 2-1. Well, they got an early start today out in San Francisco. When you're out in that town, that's what you like. When you start at 1 o'clock, they're already in the 2nd inning out there.
Probably a beautiful day by the bay.
I would imagine. 2-2. That ball is drilled into right center field, and over the wall it goes. Solo home run. And it very much sounds like a Chicago Cubs home game here today. There is Cubby blue everywhere.
Pretty good bit of hitting right there by Wilson Contreras. When you give up an opposite field home run, and if you ask DeSclafani, he's going to tell you, I hung that slider a little bit, but you have to be committed to hit it the other way. And Contreras is plenty strong enough to do that.
That guy caught that ball sitting down in his seat. Jim Riggleman might be asking, did he lean over? And didn't look like he did. I mean, he's fallen backwards. Ooh. Or did he pin that thing on top of the padding? There's that rail we talk about all the time, the cement wall that is officially a home run. But if it hits the yellow, that would not make it a home run. If it hits the yellow and goes into stands, it's a home run.
Correct.
But if it hits the yellow and comes back into the field of play.
I think what Jim Riggleman asked him, that he didn't see it either. I mean, he's a couple hundred feet away at least. So he said, can you do an umpire review right here so we get the call right? So if there's any question at all, and Riggleman hoping that at the very most it's going to be a ground rule double. I don't see how that's going to happen. Fan interference would cause that.
Home run. Jerry Lane is the crew chief, and he's working at first base. So waiting on the first base umpire, Jerry Lane, to get back in position, and we're set to go. It's a 2-1 ball game after the solo home run, the 5th of the year by Contreras. And here's Kyle Schwarber, the former Middletown High School Star in both baseball and football. Played baseball collegiately at Indiana over in Bloomington. For DeSclafani, in 16 innings, he's given up 4 home runs. One ball and 2 strikes a count. And a fastball misses outside and high to Schwarber. Couple of #1 picks for the Cubs here in recent years. With local ties, of course. Talked about Schwarber from Middletown, and Ian Happ, former star for the University of Cincinnati Bearcat baseball program. That's all for Schwarber. Second strikeout for DeSclafani.
Pretty good at bat right there for DeSclafani, because he had to throw just about everything but the kitchen sink to finally get Schwarber out. The last pitch was a changeup. That one, the strikeout pitch, a slider down and in. He threw a combination of fastballs, a 2-seamer. He went upstairs with one. He's throwing a lot of strikes.
And a strike 1 to Addison Russell, the Chicago shortstop. Hamilton will drift into right center field to make the play, and that'll end the inning. A solo home run by Contreras cuts the Reds' lead in half. Today, Fred Hindlebrandt Hildebrand from Union, Kentucky will win that Tundra thanks to your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Fred Hildebrand. Good luck. Well, he may not have the most home runs, but he's been the most proficient at winning somebody a Tundra because he's the only guy to do it this year. And that was on the last homestand, Jesse Winker. Ryan Giesenslaw was in the stands interviewing that young lady the other day, and well, that was great the way she told that story. She just filled it out when she was at a Toyota dealer, which is what you do, and then it goes into a, you know, to be drawn in some form or fashion, and her name came up. She had no idea about it until a couple of days later when a representative with Toyota called her, and if you heard the interview Brian had with her the other day, she thought it was a you know, like some solicitation call, and you know, like we all get at home, seemingly they never end, and he's trying to tell her, no, you just won a Tundra. There's a base hit into right field by Winker to begin the inning.
Looks like Farrell's getting some pretty good results when he keeps that fastball up around the letters, but when he gets his breaking ball or anything down from that letter spot on down, it becomes very hittable. That's where the home run was for Barnhart. That was where that solid line drive was there for Jesse Winker.
Now Adam Duvall is swinging a much better bat here of late. 6 hits in his last 13 at bats, with 2 home runs, a home run, and 4 runs batted in. So the batting average for the first time all year long, the last couple of days, has jumped above the 200 mark. Down to third. Lustella almost overran that ball, and Duvall able to leg out the relay throw from Ben Zobrist, 1 out.
Kind of hooking that ball was, and I think Lustella thought that ball was going to continue to move towards the third base bag. Made a nice recovery to get one. You go all the way around the infield like that. Sometimes, unless it's right at on a one hopper to the third baseman, you're not getting 2 with a runner that is a click faster than average, and that's the way you would describe Duvall.
That will bring the pitcher DeSclafani to the plate, and he bunts and pops it foul. Good effort there by Contreras over near the wall. That guy's an athlete, isn't he? Watch how fast he gets back there.
Well, it gives DeSclafani another chance. One thing the Cubs really do is they really crash their infielders on a play like this. They play very aggressive. Lustella third base in, a couple of steps from third. Of course, Rizzo has to hold the runner on before he starts coming in.
The Reds as a group have not been a good bunting team. Their pitchers have not been good bunters in any form or fashion besides Homer Bailey.
I think it's a product, Tom. It's not lack of coaching, it's lack of repetitions. I mean, they repeat it every day in spring training, but when you get into the regular season, you just don't see the concentration on it during the regular year like you do in the spring training. And a wasted at bat right there when you go down as a strikeout victim.
Total wasted at bat. I mean, look, you go watch any team, and I'm not just picking on the Reds. You go watch their pitchers take batting practice. It's home run derby. That's all it is. They'll bunt 3 or 4, and then it's home run derby. And they're bunting 60-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle of the plate. It's a joke.
I mean, you really have to be committed to it, basically.
No question.
And I also believe that for a pitcher to learn how to bunt, he needs to learn how to do it off of live pitching. So maybe you grab a couple of minor leaguers or guys that you've just released and you give them some meal money and you run them up here and they throw to pitchers a few times a week. And you would include maybe throwing to Billy Hamilton with live pitching, and he works on his bunting. It's all a matter of repeating it. Building up your myelin so that your muscle memory is to the point where it's secondary laying that bunt down. That's the only way. That's the way Joey Votto learned how to have a good stroke at the plate.
I mean, pitchers playing home run derby in batting practice is the equivalent of offensive linemen running pass patterns.
Good point. That's
for a football
good
team.
Analogy. Yeah.
It's laughable.
Of course, you have that tackle eligible play sometime.
Well, Anthony Munoz could do it, and there are a few others through the years. Of course, I think athletically, Anthony Munoz could have done anything he wanted to. He was a shortstop, of course, despite his massive frame at the University of Southern California. Great baseball player and as fine a man as you'll ever be. The best. Two and one on Billing. Another guy really swinging the bat well right now. Hamilton has that batting average up to 211. He's 6 of 14 on this homestand. He has a 5-game hitting streak in which he's batted .500. And now favorable count. 3 balls and 2 strikes as he fouls it away. Got jammed with that pitch and pops it up behind the plate. Not much room back there, and Contreras will watch it fall 4 rows out of play.
I mean, it just goes to show you what you can do with good location. Luke Farrell's only touching about 90 miles an hour. The other night, Kyle Hendricks was throwing his fastball at 86. But if you put it in a spot that is good, you'll give the hitter a great opportunity to get himself out. Hamilton keeps chasing that high fastball and keeps popping up foul balls. I mean, so they've obviously identified a weakness in Hamilton, and they just keep going after it time after time.
It's another 8-pitch at bat for a Red. We saw one from Blandino, we saw one from Suarez, and now one from Hamilton. Billy pulls it foul.
Notice the difference in that swing with where that pitch was location wise. Contreras went down and away. He wanted to get Hamilton to swing over the top of it, and Farrell's fastball just isn't nearly as effective down there as it is when it's up in the zone. So they'll go back upstairs again here on this 3-2 pitch. He's a big, tall guy. Luke Farrell is 6 feet 6 inches tall.
Billy pops one up into left field, and Schwarber's there waiting on it, and that will end the inning. A leadoff single. A runner stranded. End of 2. 2-1 Reds. The best records in all of Major League Baseball. The Reds at 8-2. Only a half game short of the 9-2 Houston Astros. Phillies have picked it back up again, and the Dodgers are playing well really for the first time all year. Phillies beat the Nationals last night. They're 2.5 behind Atlanta, who sits atop the National League East. The Reds will see the Braves starting on Monday night in Atlanta. I liked that ballpark last year. Did you like that?
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing it again. Understand they've had an incredible amount of activity that has since started in and around that neighborhood. You know, retail and restaurants. That hotel they were building is finally open out in straightaway center field, I understand. Here's a 1-2 on Ian Happ. 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order. Farrell next, and then La Stella. Brewers in front of the Cardinals 2-1. That game in the second inning in Milwaukee. And they're finally underway in Pittsburgh, and the Diamondbacks are wasting no time jumping on the Pirates. It is 2-0 with Arizona still batting in the first. I tell you what, the Reds pitch Ian Happ like he's Babe Ruth. They've walked him, what, 10 times this year now? It was 9 times the last series they were here. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
So now Farrell will be asked to bunt the runner along. Gets it down like there's nothing to it. So give him the sacrifice, which will advance Happ onto second base.
Sure looks easy when you get it done, especially when you get it done early in the count on the first pitch.
So now the Cubs have a tying run in scoring position with 1 out here in the third inning, and back to the top of the order we go in Tommy La Stella. He popped up to Jesse Winker leading off the game. Billy Hamilton for the second out. Now we'll bring Jason Hayward to the plate. Hit a bouncing ball back up through the middle. Jeanette went sliding to his right and was able to throw out Hayward by a step in the opening inning. One thing the Reds have done very, very well is, first and foremost, they've played the Cubs very well early on to start this year. The franchise that has just dominated the Reds after the Reds had a long domination of the Cubs up until the 2015 season. But the Cubs are batting just .167 with runners in scoring position against the Reds so far this year. And that's in almost 70 at bats. So they're getting a lot of guys on. And a dribbler down to Votto. That'll take care of the Cubbies in the third inning after a leadoff walk. Reds 2, Chicago 1.
Ohio, or streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Reds Live kicks everything off at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon. Swing into Summer is presented by Click It or Ticket. And as the Reds head back to the leadoff spot in the order with Alex Blandino, that could change possibly tomorrow. Scott Schebler, who's been on the bereavement list, is eligible to come off tomorrow. He was back in the Reds clubhouse this morning, and Jim Riggleman told me that Schebler will be activated tomorrow and in time for Sunday's game.
All righty, Brian, thank you very much. I'm sure Scott will be excited to get back, and I know they'll be excited to have him back. Blandino, an extended at bat, wound up drawing a walk to lead off the Reds' first inning against Farrell, and then scored when the next batter, Tucker Barnhart, clubbed a 2-run home run to the seats in deep right center. So those two to start it. Joey Votto due up third here in the third. Reds with a 2-1 advantage. Strike three called to Blandino.
He's racking up some strikeouts, is Luke Farrell right there. He dots the top of the strike zone here with a little four-seam fastball, and he has struck out 2 in the first inning, 1 last inning. Here he leads this inning off with strike 3.
Well, coming into this game in 17 and a third innings, he had fanned 26 batters. So he's had that strikeout pitch working this year. But all those numbers were accumulated, of course, pitching in his 12 games out of the Chicago bullpen. If you're just tuning in, this is his first start since his major league debut last year with Kansas City.
You know, really the only difference between pitching as a starter and out of the bullpen is your mindset. Some guys just can't wait around for 4 days before they get back out there again, especially if they have a bad outing. You can psych yourself out knowing that tomorrow's my big day. That's a nice grab by Rizzo. some guys just get so nervous before their start that they just feel better in the bullpen when the phone rings and they have to get back up and get in the ball game. But I think if you can control your emotions and how you're going to prepare for a ball game, starting and relieving is very much the same.
2 down for Joey Votto. He fouled out to the third baseman on that leaping play into the stands made by La Stella in the first inning. If you weren't with us, this was quite an effort by the Chicago third baseman. And he caught that ball. Boy, and all those Cub fans over there, none of them helping to soften the blow. They all stood up. And it looked like he pretty much went head first right into the seating over there.
Sure did. He may have come out of there without his watch.
He's Chris Welsh. And I'm Tom Brenneman with Brian Giesenslaw here at the ballpark. Three-one delivery. And on the outside corner, borderline pitch there. And I don't think Votto thought that was a strike. You be the judge.
Well, he's basically all over the place in this at bat to Votto. And when you're normally like that, you don't get those calls.
So Votto will draw the walk after all, and that's a 2-out base runner for the Reds. The inning continues for Scooter. Eight games in a row now, Joey has drawn a walk. And now it'll be Joe Madden trotting out from the Chicago dugout. And they have a reliever ready to go. That's all for Farrell. They just brought back Brian Dunsing from the bereavement list before the game last night. Farrell goes 2 2/3. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Open and exclusively online. Catch all the excitement of the 89th Major League Baseball All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. July the 17th from Washington, D.C. Nationals Park will be live on Fox. Dunsing, the new pitcher, facing Scooter Jeanette, and he laces one into right center field. On his way to third is Votto. They're going to win wave him around. Here comes the throw, and just airmails the catcher, and the Reds have a 3-1 lead. Boy, the Cubs couldn't have botched that thing if they tried any harder. The throw from the outfield missed the first cutoff man, and then Russell was nowhere in the same area code.
Or maybe you should start with the decision to bring the left-handed reliever in to face Scooter Gennett. I mean, after all, Luke Farrell struck out Gennett the first time he saw him. He comes out of the ball game after 56 pitches. They bring in a left-handed specialist, and the first pitch gets lined to the right center field wall. And they've got Votto dead to rights with just a reasonable throw right there. Missed cutoff man, missed catcher. Reds run.
And now Suarez smokes one into left. They're going to wave around Scooter. He will score. And a 4-1 Cincinnati lead. Well, I mean, Brian Dunsing hadn't had enough time to even break a sweat and given up 2 rockets.
I'm really perplexed by that move by Madden anyway, to be honest with you. And we said it, Tom, this is before the Reds have ratty-tacked the first couple of pitches that Dunsing's thrown up there. I mean, Luke Farrell seemed to be just rolling along. Now, Joey Votto walks once a game, basically in every game he plays. So walking him with 2 outs is not that big of a deal. But it has completely backfired here for the Cubs, and the Reds are continuing to bat here with 2 outs.
So that hitting streak now for Eugenio Suarez at 13 games. That is a career best. Charge 3 runs to Farrell in his 2 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, fan 4. Now Winker, he singled into right field. His only time up. 3 balls and no strikes.
There's just always that level of uncertainty, and it varies by reliever. But when you go to the bullpen, you really never know what's coming through that bullpen gate. I mean, unless you happen to have Mariano Rivera down there, then you have a pretty good idea. But especially when it comes to middle relievers, you start making changes in the beginning of the game like Madden is forced to do right here. He's going to be checking that lineup card plenty here this afternoon.
Adam Duvall with a count of 0-1. He bounced into a fielder's choice on a ground ball to the third baseman. His only time up. Reds have scored 2 runs here in the 3rd inning and have their largest lead of the game. They jumped out in front 2-0 in the first on the Barnhart home run. Cubs got a solo blast by Contreras, and now a 2-run Cincinnati 3rd, and looking for more with 2 on. Fair ball and no chance to throw out Duvall. That'll be an infield hit. Dunsing is still not retired, a batter, since they brought him in with a runner at first and 2 outs in the inning.
Right now, everything seemingly going the Reds' way. They get the breaks with the bad defense the Cubs have put on them, and they've not played good defense in the series at all. This ball nearly hits the plate. Duvall goes down to get it, and a swinging bunt places him at first base.
So now DeSclafani with the bases loaded. He struck out swinging his first time up, attempting to bunt a runner over. He'll be swinging away with 2 outs here, and a first pitch breaking ball is low and in.
Yeah, Dunsing's thinking the same thing probably that DeSclafani was. This guy's probably looking for fastball right here, and he might be ready to swing the bat.
On the pitcher. Cubs made the decision to bring Dunsing in this game with a runner at first base and 2 outs. And he's a pitch away from walking in a run. 3-1. 5 straight Reds have reached base. 4 straight, I beg your pardon, since Dunsing came on. 5 in a row overall, starting with that 2-out walk to Votto.
Take sign here?
No, I'm hit. He had it on, though. That was right down the can.
3-0 was down the can. 3-1 was down the can. He's probably going to get another one right here.
You have him taken there 3-1?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Three-two pitch. Oh boy! Get him! Tell me he did it! He did it! A grand slam for Anthony DeSclafani. The last Reds pitcher to do that was Bob Perky in 1959. He'll get the green light. 3-1 next time.
Why? He's better 3-2 hitter. What a dugout celebration they've got going for Anthony DeSclafani. Wow.
Can you believe that?
How do you top that?
You can't. Well, the only thing that would top it is if he goes on the pitch and get the win in this game.
Brian Dunsing's probably out there thinking, I should have walked him. You want to revisit that home run batting practice by pitchers again, Tom?
That's right.
It worked for one guy.
That's what they should be doing all the time. August 1st, 1959, Bob Perky hit a grand slam. He was a pitcher, ironically against the Cubs. And almost 50 years later, a Reds pitcher hits a grand slam for the first time since then. Anthony DeSclafani. Wow. I'm sure he's in shock down there. What an inning for the Reds. 9 come to the plate, but this is a moment DeSclafani will never forget. Well, it was only a day or two ago where the anniversary of that game that Rick Wise pitched, we've talked about it before, where he hit 2 home runs in a game and pitched a no-hitter. And while Anthony DeSclafani has given up a run and a hit, this is the kind of day that potentially, you know, we could be talking about a long time from now if the Reds coast on and DeSclafani wins this game on a day where he hits a grand slam, the first by a Reds pitcher in almost 50 years. 8-1, the Reds are in front. You know that. I mean, that's a list of the players with 4 RBI games. And, you know, I said the anniversary was coming up. Today is actually the anniversary of that Rick Wise game that was at Riverfront Stadium. June 23rd, 1971. First and only pitcher to throw a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs in 1 game. It was his only career no-hitter, but the first of 2 times in Rick Wise's career where he would hit 2 home runs in a game. The time of that game was 1 hour and 53 minutes.
You know, I played with Rick Wise in the last year of his 24-year Major League career. I was a rookie, and I asked him about that. Of course, I grew up a Reds fan, and that was before cell phones and anything, obviously, back in the 70s. He said he woke up the next morning in his hotel room and there was a shoebox outside his hotel door filled with telegrams.
Really?
From everybody. What a night that would be. A no-hitter with 2 home runs. The Owl Man.
Yes, indeed, with those glasses.
You know, late in his career, he used to complain about how the baseballs were very slick. So when he pitched for the Padres had brown sleeves that would be underneath their uniform. So he would dab a little pine tar on the brown sleeves, and it was really, you couldn't see it unless you really examined his arm. And he had a little pocket in his back pocket. He had a handkerchief in a Ziploc bag that was open, that was soaked in rubbing alcohol. And that would be the solvent for pine tar. So if he wanted to throw a fastball, he didn't want good grip. He wanted that ball to be a little slicker. So he'd reach into his back pocket and rub his finger. And it would wipe the pine tar off his finger. So anytime he wanted to go to a breaking pitch, he would touch his arm and he'd pick up a little pine tar. And I pitched after Rick Wise in the rotation. So as charting the game from the dugout, I always knew ahead of time whether it was going to be a breaking ball or a fastball, based on whether he went to his back pocket or he went to his right arm or his left arm.
Funny.
The Owlman, boy, he was full of tricks.
I'm sure. You don't hang around for 20+ years if you're not.
24.
Now waiting on Contreras to get back in the box. Still waiting. I don't know what in the world is going on here.
Remember last night with Greg Gibson and Joe Madden? There was a little confrontation going on last night about a review play that Madden wanted. And Jerry Lane broke it up and told Gibson to go back to his first base, or second base, at the first base last night. And now I think the problem here was that Gibson, who's a fan of a speed-up game, was telling Contreras to get in the box. And Contreras finally turned around and complained to Madden, saying, hey, he's telling me to get in the box here. And he was probably hearing some jawing from Joe Madden anyway. He's saying, hey, he's talking too much. And Gibson's telling him, I'm just trying to get him in the box.
Well, somebody on that Cub bench has been thrown out of the game. But this is just, you know, this stuff. Baseball is trying to become more appealing to a fan base. And one of the priorities is to increase the pace of play. You have to empower the umpires to say to the players who seem to want nothing to do with increasing the pace of the play, to give them the wherewithal to tell guys, let's get in the box.
Well, until you're able to charge a batter an automatic ball for not getting in the box, and you can do that now if a batter refuses to get into the box, but we never see it happen.
I think somebody on that Cub bench was thrown out. It's
Somebody
obviously not
was, and I
Madden.
guess it was not Joe Madden.
They had another coach, I couldn't tell who it was, came out onto the field and was screaming at Greg Gibson. So there's someone who's now watching the game from the third base clubhouse. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Jam shot roller down to Suarez. And the inning is over. DeSclafani, after the grand slam, puts together a 1-2-3-4. Changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. All red so far as they come to bat here in the last of the 4th inning. Obviously a long way to go in this one. If you're just tuning in, though, something happened in this game that has not happened since 1959, and that's a Reds pitcher hitting a grand slam. Oh, and he's only given up 1 run. That was a solo home run. You know, for so long we talked about the Cubs' domination of the Reds the last handful of years, and I mean it's been total domination, make no mistake about it, up until this year so far anyway. But the Cubs have not beaten the Reds unless they score 5 runs or more since September of 2015. Now, when they score 5 or more, they are a whopping 32-15. There's a ground ball to second. But the Reds are 11-0 when holding the Cubs to 5 runs or less. So, you know, there have been a lot of those games, obviously, that were just, it was like bloodletting. I mean, the Cubs were hitting home runs and just knocking the tar out of a not very effective Reds pitching staff, top to bottom, over the last 3 or 4 years. But obviously, the pitching is a lot better so far this year. And especially, it's been better against the Cubs outside of that That night game after the day-night doubleheader, when the Cubs lost that first game on a bases-loaded walk to Billy Hamilton and then just pounded the Reds the next game that night.
You know, it's a funny time. We said it for a long time. It's not necessarily who you play. It's when you play that team. Early in the year, the Reds were winning only one out of every 4 games they were playing. Now they're beginning to play a lot better baseball, winning 2 out of every 4. All of a sudden you look up and they've strung 5 in a row together.
You know, again, you take away the first 3 games that Jim Riggleman managed after taking over for Brian Price, and the Reds were swept in that 3-game series in St. Louis. But you take that series out, and the Reds are 27-27 under Jim Riggleman since that series. Deep in a hole, it's short. Russell turns it loose and snatched out of the dirt by Rizzo at first, 2 down in the inning. Jim Riggleman has really done a good job. Now, look, his players are playing better than they played under Brian Price.
And they've also gotten healthier, too. Remember, they've gotten a couple of key components back in that bullpen, and the bullpen has made a huge difference. Michael Lorenzen has come back. David Hernandez has come back. Both of them have thrown the ball extremely well. Those are 2 weapons that Brian Price did not have.
Plus, Anthony DeSclafani has come back since Brian Price was let go. And of course, they had Homer Bailey and Brandon Finnegan in the starting rotation while Brian Price was here. Although the Finnegan stay drifted into the Riggleman regime. And the Reds got Schebler and Suarez back. You know, they were hurt very early in the year. Suarez, the second weekend of the season on that first road trip in Pittsburgh when he broke his thumb. So a lot of things are going on, and the players are playing better. I mean, Votto was basically non-existent in the month of April. And now all of a sudden he's turned it up. Suarez and Jeanette have been lights out. Other guys are contributing. Starting pitching's been a lot better. Not great, but better. One and 2 on Votto. And that strike 3 called to Votto to retire the side. So Dunsing with a perfect 4th. Reds lead 8-1.
Week regarding a former Red, a fan favorite, that would be Brian Pena. Retired, Pena did, at 36 years old. after a nice long run in the bigs, and specifically on Twitter thanked Reds Nation. Said he's got nothing but love and respect for the Reds and the fans in Cincinnati. 2 years here, 2014 and 2015, part of his 12 seasons in the bigs. He also played in Detroit, and now as he moves on to the next phase of his life and career, he's expected to be a manager in the Tigers system.
Good for him. One of the truly nice guys that ever played the game of baseball. What a wonderful young man.
You know, if you have a son who's playing in the minor leagues, you would love to have Brian Pena as his manager. I mean, he's got enthusiasm. He's always upbeat. Remember, he had that the way he would arrange his catching gear in the dugout. I mean, he would be one of the first ones out in the dugout every day. And he'd bring his bats out there, he'd line them up just right, and his catching gear just, and then you'd have to stay away from that because it was almost like it was a shrine. What a good guy.
That's a 4-pitch walk to Kyle Schwarber by DeSclafani to open up the 5th inning. Oh, and one on Addison Russell, leading things, or leading over at first base is Schwarber after the walk to start the inning, and there's a strike. It's a second walk given up by DeSclafani, and the other started an inning. That was a walk to Happ in the 3rd. If you're wondering about how many, grand slams have been hit by pitchers, we talked about for a Reds pitcher, you got to go back to 1959. I mean, there have been quite a few of them here in recent years. Jaime Garcia in 2017. Madison Bumgarner hit 2 grand slams in the same year, 2014. I mean, think about that. 2 in 1 year. Travis Wood hit a grand slam playing for the Cubs. I mean, there have been a few of them here. Jake Westbrook, Sean Markham, Brad Penny, Chris Carpenter. But not a Reds pitcher. That'll be the first out here in the inning. Happ walked his first time up. We're in the 5th. Two balls and a strike to Ian Happ. And a base hit into center field. Schwarber will advance 90 feet. And they're going to pinch hit, I'm sure, for the pitcher Dunsing. Things did not go well for him today. Albert Almora Jr. will bat with 2 on and 1 out here in the Chicago 5th inning. Reds in front 8-1. Dunsing replaced Farrell with a runner at first in a 2-1 game and 2 outs after Farrell had walked Joey Votto in the 3rd inning. He allowed an RBI double, an RBI single, a walk, an infield hit, and a grand slam to DeSclafani. So charged with 5 runs in an inning and a third, down the right field line, and that's a foul ball.
Almora can hit a little bit. I mean, he is really a terrific offensive center fielder. In this year, he's hitting .318. Last year, he had just about 300 at bats, and he nearly hit 300. In his rookie year, when he first came up, played 112 at bats, he hit .277. So he's always been a good contact hitter. He doesn't strike out very much.
Bouncing ball. Suarez, nice pickup, gets he out at second base. Tried to swipe the runner. Schwarber running by him, but they get it out. The 2nd of the inning.
Schwarber looked like he was already by him, so he didn't really have to veer very far away from Suarez and be called for being out of the baseline right there.
Runners at first and third for La Stella. Breaking ball, he started to and didn't go around ball 1. La Stella has popped up to right and lined out hard to Hamilton in center.
These are 3 pretty tough left-handed hitters that the Cubs have when you start the inning with Schwarber. And then a couple batters later, you see Ian Happ and now Tommy La Stella.
Stella is such a valuable member of this team. I mean, you know, you don't hear a lot about him, but this guy can really hit.
Well, you know, there was a time when he was basically an outcast on this team. 2016 in August, the Cubs tried to send him down in the minor leagues, and he said, no, I'm not going. I'm going to quit. Well, maybe it wasn't August. It was earlier in the year, and he basically spent 3 weeks at home rather than going down to AAA. And it wasn't because he didn't want to play baseball, is that he didn't want to play with anyone else except his Cubs teammates. Some people thought that was very selfish. He had a lot of backlash among his teammates here and then the teammates down in the minor leagues. Almost like, what, are you too good to be sent down? And when he was finally reinstated, he went down to the minor leagues. He played about 8 games, got recalled back up, and since that time, he has grown into, you know, really one of the leaders on this ball club.
Well, Stella, I don't know what happened.
Not leading that way, I'll tell you that. La Stella thinks there may have been catcher's interference, I guess, right? He's looking at Tucker
Barnhart. He didn't run to first.
It's almost like he was looking for catcher's interference.
You can buy a $12 ticket package and you get a voucher for a regular hot dog and a 16-ounce fountain drink of the game. And we have fireworks shows on both the 3rd and the 4th of July. Remember, this great deal is only available through this ticket package. All right, Reds will bat here in the last of the 5th inning. Holding an 8-1 lead. Brewers in the bottom of the 5th inning, a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals. Still a delay, Arizona in Pittsburgh. Stribsny again pitching for Chicago. We've seen him the last couple of days. And he'll take care of Jeanette on a ground out to begin the inning.
I thought that was a very interesting way to end the inning right here. Tommy La Stella, kind of an odd swing. Look how late the swing is and how deep the bat moves towards the catcher. La Stella's one of those players that'll do just about anything to get on base. This, in my opinion, is an attempt to get catcher's interference. He's done it twice already this year. He's done it 6 times in his major league career. It's a smart play if you can get away with it. And he thought he made contact or tried to make contact. The home plate umpire didn't buy it, Greg Gibson, and La Stella was out, but he ran down the line and kind of looking at Tucker Barnhart saying, hey, you know, there had to be catcher's interference. You don't take a swing like that unless you've got, you know, an ulterior motive.
Mm-hmm. One ball and 1 strike on Suarez, and now 1-2. Suarez has struck out and delivered a run-scoring single in that 6-run 3rd inning. Stribsny, very good ERA, pitching for Chicago, and that one is looped into left center field. A base hit, 2nd hit for Suarez, who, with that base hit his last time up, extended his career best hitting streak to 13 straight games. Now a 2nd hit today. And that is the longest hitting streak by a Cincinnati Red this season. Now Winker, been on base twice, a single. He's drawn a walk and scored on the Anthony DeSclafani grand slam. And that's right, you heard it right. Anthony DeSclafani grand slam. Third team in Major League history, the Reds are, to hit 7 grand slams within a 33-day time span. And they have the most grand slams in Major League Baseball this year, 1 more now than Boston. That's incredible. 7 of them in 33 days. And only 1 player has more than 1. That would be Adam Duvall. He has 2. We've seen 3 of them on this homestand. Votto, Winker, and now DeSclafani. And this is only what, the 5th game of the homestand. May the 22nd is when it all began. Scooter Gennett hit a grand slam, and that was the first of now 7, and there is ball 4. Reds have scored 6 or more runs now in each of the first 3 games of this series. And bear in mind, when the Cubs came into this series, they were pitching as well as any team in baseball not called the Houston Astros. They had only allowed 5 total runs in the 3-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, spanning 28 innings before this series began. Well, the man of the day so far stands in the on-deck circle. He's allowed 1 run on 2 hits on the mound through 5 innings and hit a grand slam in the 6-run third. 1-2 on Duvall. And another foul ball out of play. Five consecutive pitches fouled off by Duvall. And again, the 1-2 and another foul ball.
Hey, this is wearing old poor Rob Zastrinzny out. He appeared now in all 3 games against the Reds. He had 1 day off, and he had pitched the previous game to that against the Dodgers. So it's now 4 out of the 5 last games that he has been in for the Cubs. Not a lot of pitches, though. He had 16 last night, 9 in the first 1 inning that he pitched on Friday or on Thursday. When he pitched on the 19th of June, that was against Los Angeles in Chicago. So Zastrinzny pitched 4 pitches in that ball game, pitched a third of an inning, and ended up getting the win. Right place, right time.
7 consecutive foul balls here in this trip to the plate by Duvall. And it's still only 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2 on, 1 out. Reds batting here in the bottom of the 5th. Finally got him swinging. So now DeSclafani.
I think he's getting a little bit of applause even from some of the Cubs fans who will remember this day.
Fly ball into left field. Crowd wanting to see another on the Rick Wise anniversary of 2 home runs and a no-hitter. Go to the 6th. 8-1 Reds in front.
Disco all day here at Great American Ballpark. 8-1 the Reds over the Cubs as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Anthony DeSclafani takes them out. He's got Hayward, Zobrist, and Rizzo 2, 3, and 4 in the Cubs lineup. And so far a pretty good line for the Reds right-hander. 5 innings, 1 hit baseball. He struck out 3, and oh, by the way, in the 3rd inning he hit a grand slam. That was a 6-run 3rd inning that the Reds put on the Cubs to take control of this ball game.
Reds before today only had, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, 3 pitchers ever hit grand slams. Icebox Chamberlain. Do you remember that name?
I do not. Should I?
1892.
Okay.
1936 Al Hollingsworth, which was also against Chicago, by the way. So the last 3 pitchers in 1936, Bob Perky in 59, and now Anthony DeSclafani in 2018. The last 3 pitchers to hit grand slams all came against Chicago.
Wasn't the king or big daddy of all grand slams as a pitcher Tony Cloninger, who hit 2 grand slams in one day in one in one game of a doubleheader and another in another day, a game of a doubleheader, right? And who was he pitching for then? Was that the White Sox he was with?
I think it was Boston. The Boston Braves, or the Atlanta Braves. On the ground is short. And that'll take care of Hayward to begin this 6th inning. We'll have to check that out.
Maybe it was 2 in one game and it was not a doubleheader.
July the 3rd, 1966.
That will be definitely this day in baseball.
He drove in 9 runs in that game. So it wasn't just 2 grand slams.
Yeah. He had a suicide squeeze, too. Wow. No, I'm just teasing you.
I was going to say, that's a big game there.
Come
Hey,
on.
Scooter Jeanette had a game where he had to hit a home run and had a suicide squeeze.
Got some swampland for sale, too, my man.
That oceanfront property in Arizona, George Strait likes to sing about. That ball lined hard into right field, and that one is gone. Off the bat of Ben Zobrist to make it an 8-2 game. Stefani had struck him out twice, not this time. Boy, he loves sitting in this ballpark. 10th career home run at GABP for Zobrist. And he's only been in the National League a couple of years.
I'll tell you, if you're a pitcher, a right-handed pitcher that is facing this Cubs lineup, I mean, they can run one lefty after another out there on you. You better figure out a way to get left-handers out because they will wear you out otherwise.
And right at the top of that list is this guy right here, Anthony Rizzo. 0 for 2 today, is popped to left and bounced out to Joey Votto. Cardinals have jumped in front of Milwaukee. It's in the 6th inning now, 3-2 St. Louis. Nationals and the Phillies are tied at 2 in the 6th. And they continue to wait it out in Pittsburgh. Well, that's no fun. That's no fun.
We've been there.
We've been there. It's no fun for anybody. Not the fans, most importantly. Boy, DeSclafani's had 3 of those today. Where just out of the blue, he walks a batter on 4 straight pitches.
The Reds will get some shaking done down in that bullpen. Looks like the phone just rang. Ted Power with the clipboard. He's up and he's got some guys warming up.
First pitch swinging is Contreras, and this will be the 2nd out of the inning. DeSclafani has not pitched 6 complete innings in any of his first 3 starts, and he's an out away from doing that here today. This will be his 85th pitch. He's thrown 91 in a game. That was his most recent start against the Pirates. And there's a strike. Actually, it was his first start back where he had the 91. In 5 2/3, he only needed 81 before being lifted in that game against the Bucs. So I beg your pardon. Schwarber has struck out and drawn a walk. Reds have action in their bullpen. Indeed, it's Michael Lorenzen beginning to throw. And of course, normally when he comes in, that generally means, not all the time, we saw him for 1 batter the other night, but most of the time it's been longer than a 1 inning stint. Waiting on Schwarber to get in the box. And now the 1-1 pitch coming. to the right side, but Jeanette has time. Throws out Schwarber to end the inning. A solo home run by Zobrist. Middle to 6. Reds lead 8-2.
Bats on the field. That's top prospect Nick Senzel at second base. Routine ground ball that he took off of his right hand, his throwing hand. He injured his index finger on that play and later came out of the game. He'll have season-ending surgery on Tuesday. Senzel released this statement today via his Twitter account. As Billy Hamilton reaches to kick things off here back at the ballpark, that statement said in part from Senzel, "It's been a challenging season from the start, but it's made me grow. It won't stop my drive to continue to fulfill my dream, and make no mistake, I will be back stronger than ever. I love you all, Reds Nation."
That's first class right there by Nick Senzel.
Sure is. And he will be back. He's a good kid. Hard worker. Very talented. Well, he really put on a show a lot of times down in spring training, Tom, and very athletic. I think what's really undecided yet for the Reds is what position would best fit Nick Senzel when he does finally come to the major leagues. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Billy with 14 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 3 times. And here's Blandino leading. The Reds are 8-2 over Chicago here in the last of the 6th inning. There goes Hamilton. Contreras from his knees, not going to be in time.
Boy, it's got to be very frustrating for Wilson Contreras because the pitchers aren't doing their job and holding the runner on. That was not a good pickoff move previous by Sestrinzi. That's a strong arm. You know, his pop time, which is the time it takes from the time he receives the ball in his glove, pops the glove, till he throws the ball to the infielder covering second and it pops his glove, is almost 1/10 of a second better than the major league average. And we're talking about hundredths of seconds when you're talking about the difference between a guy being safe and out on a stolen base. I mean, Billy Hamilton is one of the fastest players in all the major leagues. The average major league pop time is 2.01 or 2.02. That one by Contreras there was 1.9
from his knees.
From his knees. So pretty amazing. Now Contreras just looked into the dugout. He wants to bring out the trainer. Hey, we did mention that Sestrinsny now has pitched in 4 of the last 5 Cubs games, 4 of the last 5 days. And that will be all.
Well, you hope that young man's going to be all right.
I hope so.
I don't know if they've told anybody down there who's coming into the game. There's no one coming out of the Cubs bullpen.
They were cutting the deck to see who'd have to come in.
That's exactly right. It's going to be Anthony Bass, and he'll have as much time as he needs to get ready. Reds lead 8-2, and we'll be back.
The ballpark came in a critical situation with Kyle Schwarber at the plate and the bases loaded. The Cubs trying to get back in it. And the newest Red, Kyle Crockett, the lefty out of the bullpen, came in, recorded that out, and kicked off his Reds tenure in style.
I'm up here because they want me to throw strikes and get guys out. So I knew I had to get ahead in the count and just work to where I could get some swing and misses, and was able to punch them out. My parents were so excited, and I think they were probably more nervous than I was, but it was definitely good to get that first one out of the way so we get a little more comfortable.
And before that big appearance for Crockett in the game last night, he took this pregame with his folks from Virginia Beach. They had already driven to Louisville before he got the call to come up to the Reds, and then just came on up, made an appearance at the ballpark obviously last night, and saw Crockett get off to a great start. Certainly not by any stretch his big league debut, but a big appearance for the first time in a Reds uniform. And Jim Riggleman said he did not hesitate in that situation, didn't know exactly what he would get from Crockett, but liked the matchup, lefty-lefty, and it worked out in a big way in his favor last night.
Sure did. That was a huge strikeout indeed. Still a tight game when he came on to pick up that strikeout.
Sure was. You just never know how things are going to work out. Kyle Crockett signs a minor league deal. He gets an invite to spring training. He's still a long shot to make the major leagues. And here it is in the month of June. We're in a big league uniform at Great American Ballpark.
And Mom and Dad here to boot.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony Bass comes on from the bullpen.
That didn't take too long.
Saw him for an inning last night. Perfect inning.
I'll tell you what, I don't know. I've done it before, come in when the previous pitcher's been injured, and you got to warm up on the mound. And it's not very much fun at all.
I'm sure it's not. Well, the first pitch he throws, and Alex Blandino, that's a third at bat in the last 2 nights where he took strike 2 and strike 3 on fastballs. Right down the middle of the plate. Did the same thing 2 at bats ago in the 3rd inning. Pulled to the right side by Tucker. On to third goes Billy Hamilton. 2 are outs in the inning. I believe Bass gets credit for the strikeout. If there are 2 balls on the batter when the pitcher comes in and the batter walks, the prior pitcher is charged with the walk, if I remember correctly that rule. Two balls, of course, or more. 3 balls, needless to say. So now Votto is a batter with Billy Hamilton at third base and 2 out. Strike 1 on the inside corner. Votto 0 for 2, walked and scored in the 3rd. He's fouled out to third and struck out looking. That split the pot today is up over $35,000 here at the ballpark.
Did you buy a ticket?
No, but I might have to sneak down there and get one. $35,749 and climbing. Not too bad.
Now, is that the winning half, or do you have to split that?
That I don't know. I think Votto thought he was getting ready to get rung up, and Bass certainly thought that was strike 3. After getting ahead 0-2, Bass has now run the count full on Votto. This guy's getting a little bit darker here at the ballpark as this game drags on. And there's strike 3 called to end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. We're off to the 7th. All red so far.
and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
So here we go, 7th inning. Addison Russell will lead things off against DeSclafani, the deepest he's pitched into a game since being activated off the disabled list. Starting the 7th inning, he's allowed 2 solo home runs, and this will take care of Russell on the pop up to Joey. As part of the Ohio Lottery post-game concert series, chart-topping country singer Jake Owen will be performing live from the field on Saturday, August the 11th after the game. So if you have a ticket to the game, you can stick around for the show. Buy your tickets now at Reds.com. DeSclafani has not thrown 7 innings in a game since September the 2nd of 2016. Of course, he did not throw a pitch in a major league game all of last year.
Well, you look back on that September team, you know, Tom, in 2016, not that long ago, he pitched between June and September, the end of the year. And during that period of time, the Reds ran out 10 different pitchers to start games between June and September. From then till now, Anthony DeSclafani is the only one who is now in the starting rotation for the Reds.
It's hard to believe.
I mean, Scott Feldman was on that ball club. We had Brandon Finnegan got some starts. Of course, Bronson Arroyo, Kivas Sampson. I should be able to name all of them. Tim Alderman, I think, led the team in innings, if I'm not mistaken, that year.
I tell you, I don't know what it is that Ian Happ seems to present as a challenge for the Reds. He's a good player, but he's batting .220.
He's the walking
The Reds
man.
have walked him 12 times this year. 12. He's batting 8th. Well, that's going to do it for DeSclafani. What a day for Anthony DeSclafani. 6 1/3 innings of 2-run baseball so far, and a grand slam, the first by a Reds pitcher since 1959. Anthony DeSclafani leaves after 6 1/3 innings, and this is now 11 consecutive starts by Reds pitchers of 5 or more innings and 3 or fewer runs allowed since 2014, when they did that 13 games in a row. The starting pitchers in that rotation were Matt Latos, Mike Leake, Johnny Cueto, Alfredo Simon, and Homer Bailey. How about that? One and one to Javier Baez, who comes off the bench. To bat for the pitcher, Bass. He worked another perfect inning, as he did yesterday, with 2 strikeouts. We might see everybody in that Cub bullpen before this game's over.
Of course, Michael missed a lot of the season by being on the disabled list. Came up lame with the arm coming right out of spring training. So he stayed down there in Arizona quite a long time, and now only in his 12th game of the season.
Double play will end the inning. Wow. Boy, the Reds have it going on this weekend against the Cubs. They are 6 outs away from winning the front 3 of this series.
Photo or video with hashtag Hats Off for Heroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
Stop by the Reds Live pregame set before the game tomorrow for Sign Sunday. Make signs to support the Reds and your favorite player and perhaps be part of Reds Live. But you do have to show up with an appropriate sign. I mean, don't be a blockhead, because you won't get on.
Well, how about like "We Love Tom"?
That's a great idea. Even if you're lying, it's okay. Now listen, you're the guy that's actually doing Reds Live this week, so if they're going to make a sign for a particular person, you and Brian would be the two. You've been there all week this week.
I have been.
So
unfortunately, I don't think I passed the audition because Jeff Vaccaro will be back tomorrow.
Oh, so you're not going to be on there tomorrow?
He'll be back in that hot seat. No, it is fun. I'll tell you what, the level of energy that is down there at that set. You know what it's like after the game when the Reds win. It'll be crazy down there today. But even before the game today, had this little extra energy going on. Really a lot of fun. So I want to thank Brian and all the guys as far as Reds Live, Dreamweaver, for putting up with me for a few days.
We've seen this sidewinder had a long career. Steve Cishek. He's been a good pitcher for a long time.
Really good pitcher for a long time. He has been a closer many times in the past. I mean, when I first saw him come on the scene, I want to say it was with the Marlins, and I always wondered how anybody hit him, especially a right-hander. His 9th year in the major leagues, 36 games so far this season. He was at Tampa Bay and Seattle last year. He's been with St. Louis, and the majority of his career, first 6 seasons, he was with the Marlins. He's got 123 saves to his credit.
He's been used as a setup man a lot this year in front of, along with Strop and others, for Morrow. But now that Morrow is on the disabled list, they haven't designated one guy to be their closer, and he's going to get some save chances if and when they present themselves. They have not in this series. Suarez lifts a fly ball into deep right center field, still giving chase, and it's up against the wall. And Suarez is making a turn coming to third. He will make it.
Interesting umpire rotation right there, in addition to really fine base running by Suarez. He wasn't the only one that had to book it into third base. This ball hit very well going the other way. Remember, Suarez's home run the other night was the dead center field. This one bounces off the wall. And at this point, Suarez sees the play, and he decides that when that ball goes all the way away from Ian Happ, he's going to take third. But meanwhile, the umpire rotation forced the home plate umpire to get out there to third base to make the call. So even when you have a 4-man crew, you got guys moving all over the place.
They will intentionally walk Jesse Winker. And now it'll be Adam Duvall with runners on the corners and 1 out. Reds trying to add to an 8-2 lead here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Back-to-back 3-hit games for Eugenio Suarez, the 3rd time he's done that in his major league career. And that's his second 3-base hit of this season, if you're wondering.
I mean, you got to figure that Suarez has got All-Star written all over him this year, right? But that All-Star ticket as a third baseman in the National League is a tough one to get. We'll see how it all goes. I'm not sure how anybody could deny him this year.
Oh, there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, he's leading the league in runs batted in. Now, we've got some time.
Yeah.
You know, pro and con. I mean, you can even rev those numbers up even more, or of course, you know, things can go the other way on you. But I mean, the way this guy's playing. Now, he won't win the vote. I mean, Arenado has become a household name in baseball. And Arenado's having a really good year, too. He's batting .323. 3rd best in the league. 2nd most home runs. He has the 3rd most RBIs now, does Arenado. So, you know, there you go. But after that, I mean, the only guy you see sprinkled in there among other 3rd basemen in the National League in some of the other, you know, big power categories, Travis Shaw has 47 runs batted in from Milwaukee. But you start flipping around through the other categories, and I don't see another 3rd baseman on there that would even warrant consideration.
Well, if you start looking at OPS, that would be, you know, you start including guys like Chris Bryant, who's getting on base still a lot, Anthony Rendon, you know, who's got to be in the mix.
Yep, you're right. Good players, but not having near the year of Suarez.
But you're right about him not, getting the vote just because Arenado's having a terrific year.
Yeah.
His OPS is actually better than Suarez at this point.
Then you get into the conversation about second base. And, the year Jeanette's having. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Albies is a second baseman, right? They've moved him around a little bit, but he's settled in now pretty much at second base. He's having a monster year. Third most home runs. All the total bases, third most in the league. Second in runs scored. Leads the league in doubles. But the tricky part that always seems to escape us frequently when you start having these types of discussions is with every team having to have at least one player on the team, there might be a guy who's just having a very mediocre year, but it's the best year on a really bad team.
Correct.
At that position, and that happens a lot.
I mean, Albies is batting 90 points lower than is Scooter Gennett.
Double play ball here. Maybe. Yep. Well, they turn that nice. I tell you, Zobrist can really turn a double play. Today, Tucker Barnhart in the first inning, a 2-run home run to get the Reds off and running against Luke Farrell. Anthony DeSclafani has 4 starts since coming off the disabled list. Mighty good today. Gives up just 2 runs on 3 base hits, 2 solo home runs. Speaking of home runs, in a 6-run third for the first time since 1959. A Reds pitcher hits a grand slam. It was on a 3-2 pitch. After Dunsing had fallen behind 3 balls and no strikes, DeSclafani took the next 2 pitches for strikes and then clubbed a grand slam. The Reds 7th in the last 33 days. Only the 3rd team in Major League history to ever do that. 7 grand slams in a 33-day time frame. Billy nearly lost that one either in the sun or by the topspin on that ball off the bat of La Stella. Good thing it didn't hit him in the face. Michael Urban stays in the game to play right. And I want to take a minute. Our dear friend for many years works with us in the booth every single night. Jesse Jackson. His daughter Caitlin Jackson getting married today in Houston, Texas. Shabundu Enake is his name, and they've known each other going all the way back to their days at Ohio State University. His daughter's been an enormous successful career with the Coca-Cola company, and we are really excited for her and Jesse and his entire family.
And his wife Ann. Just got to be so proud down there in Houston, Texas today. Congratulations, JJ Jr.
Broken bat base hit into left field by Hayward. 4 for 48 weekends are back this season. You can cheer on the Reds. They take on the Brewers and save big money thanks to Budweiser, Freedom Reserve, and Folds of Honor. What an organization Folds of Honor is. Buy 4 view level tickets and receive 4 Reds hats for only $48. Visit Reds.com/4448. The number 4, the word FOR 48. And with an 8-2 lead and a runner at first and 1 out in the 8th inning, we're going to have Danny Darwin come out and visit Michael Lorenzen on the mound.
Step up to GMC and get 0% financing for 60 months on most 2018 GMC Terrain models.
Nothing in 1 account on Zobrist, who homered to right field his last time up. One ball and 2 strikes. And a little foul. Field off the bat of Zobrist. And Hayward on the second base. 2 on with 1 out against Lorenzen here in the 8th inning. And that's going to be all for Lorenzen. We're going to have a pitching change after we just had a visit to the mound. Amir Garrett will come on to face Anthony Rizzo. You'll want to stick around for this. Sports Ohio. Stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down for you after the ball game. We're only in the 8th inning. Now you go back to the last time the Cubs were in town and the screaming and yelling after the strikeout of Javier Baez, who really started the whole thing the night before, grandstanding after an infield hit in a blowout game. And Rizzo comes sprinting out. He's the one that ends up doing the most, John, with Amir Garrett. And then on Thursday night, it was Garrett 3 pitches to strike out Rizzo. So here we go again. Rizzo v. Garrett. And if Amir continues to pitch out of the bullpen moving forward in his career, we're not even getting warmed up with this matchup yet. Can they turn the double play? They will turn it. How about Garrett? Oh, ducked it. Man, is this guy having a year? This guy is having a year, man. Thanks to our good friends at Klosterman Bakery, you can get half-price Reds tickets. Enjoy the live mascot races. We have face painters and so much more going on. And kids tomorrow, 14 and younger, get a Billy Hamilton Fathead thanks to First Student. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Well, yes, this is a backup catcher who was in the lineup last night, Chris Jimenez. Don't be surprised, though, that he's pitching in a game. Last year for Minnesota, he pitched in 6 games. This is his 10th career pitching appearance. So no big deal for him.
You know, the oddity and the novelty of having a position player pitch, you know, is beginning to wear off, because you're seeing it more and more when, you know, managers are trying to save their bullpen. And normally it's a much bigger blowout game than it is right now. I mean, if this game was, say, for instance, 15-2 instead of 8-2, how do you like the suggestion of a rule change where the Reds would have the option of batting or not? Saying, no, you know, we've got Amir Garrett out there. We just turned a double play. We'll just keep our team in the field. We won't bat in the bottom of the 8th, and we'll just let you play the 9th inning right now.
Sinking liner, a base hit by Brandon Dixon. Hey, look, you know I'm on board for something like that, but let me tell you something. The Players Union, you couldn't even get the first 3 words out of your mouth of that idea. Because it's all about the stats, which rolls all into about the money. And you don't give guys a chance to bat in an inning, they can't pad the stats.
And they can't reach certain incentives.
That's
like
exactly
number of at-bats and so on. Sure.
Great idea, though.
I'm full of them, and they're all free.
You had a lot of good ones today when we had a chance to visit with a lot of fans from all over the country before the ball game here today. I mean, they had fans of every franchise I think you could possibly name that were there today, and from those different areas of the country.
That was the Stampede group from the Passport, the baseball passport that you can buy here at the stadium.
Right, at every stadium.
And a great idea created by Tim Parks, local guy who put together this book. And in every stadium out there, you get a book. And it describes every stadium, and when you get to that stadium, if you visit, you go to a certain spot. Usually it's customer service desk, and they stamp it to verify that you've been there. So that if you're making a trek around and seeing all the baseball stadiums, including minor league ballparks, you can kind of have your own little, I guess, scrapbook of your trips.
And there were a number of people there today when Joe Zerhusen, who was the MC of that event today, asked how many people around the room had been to all 30 ballparks. And there were probably a dozen people in there that raised their hand. And some folks a lot more than 30.
Yeah. One girl came over from Australia.
Yeah.
And a trek this summer. She was going to see all 30 ballparks this summer.
It's pretty hardcore.
Now, she's missing winter over there, so, you know, it's a good decision.
Landino strokes one into left, but that'll be caught. World Cup action continues tomorrow. A full slate of matches. Harry Kane and England take on Panama. That's at 7 a.m. Japan and Senegal. And then Poland against Colombia. The World Cup all day tomorrow. FS1 and Fox are streaming all live on the Fox Sports app. Here's Tucker Barnard. He started the Reds scoring today with a 2-run home run to right field in the very first inning. They've gone to the bottom of the 9th inning in Milwaukee, and the Brewers trailed the Redbirds 3-2. Of course, the Brewers beat the Cardinals closer yesterday. So we'll see what happens today. Tucker drives one foul. The Diamondbacks again are just all over the Pirates. I mean, well, the Pirates are scuffling. 5-0 Arizona in the 5th after a long rain delay. And Barnhart out on strikes.
How about that? Jimenez kept throwing the ball 69 miles an hour, 69 miles an hour, and then that last pitch, he gasses up to 84 and throws it right by Barnhart. Catcher versus catcher here. Oh, you can imagine what's going to happen here the next time Tucker is catching behind the plate. Jimenez comes into the batter's box.
That's his second career strikeout for Jimenez. High drive by Joey Votto into right center field. Long ball. The Reds are laying it on the Cubbies here today. Backup catcher or no backup catcher. This one was pretty much out of reach before Jimenez ever took the mound, but Votto tacks on 3 more. 3 outs away from a 3-games-to-none lead in the 4-game weekend set. We kick it all off with the Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. 12:30 we get started tomorrow, and Big Sally, as they call him, Pally, is on quite a rally. Pally. Those are his last 2 starts.
He pitches in front of Malley.
Pally. And maybe to Casale, Pally.
You've been here too long today.
There's no doubt. That's really the story about every day. Reds haven't won a 4-game series against the Cubs since winning 4 out of 5 in July of 2014. Cubs have won 3 of the 5 4-game series since. There have been a couple of splits, but the Reds have not won one, and they're 3 outs away for the first time since July of 14. Contreras to face Dylan Floro, who pitched in 3 games for the Cubs a year ago. They didn't bring him back, and what a find he has turned out to be for the Reds.
Well, he was such a good find. In fact, he got his first, he's 2-1 on the year. One of those wins is against his old team, the Chicago Cubs. The first one.
First career win.
Happened back in May the 19th. He pitched a couple of innings of shutout baseball against the Cubs, and the Reds ended up winning that ball game 5-4. Win more recently when the Reds hosted the Colorado Rockies. He pitched 3 innings of shutout baseball in that game on June the 7th. Picked up win number 2.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Contreras, to be followed by Schwarber and Russell. Cubs have 5 hits in the game. Deep in the hole, it's short. Are you kidding me? What a play by Blandino. Holy Moses, what a play that was.
You got to figure, coming off the bat, Wilson Contreras is thinking that's a base hit all the way. Gets by the third baseman. Suarez can't get it. But there is Blandino sliding, popping up, and firing into first base. Well, that's a good one there. Ooh.
Yes, sir.
If they give different star ratings for outfield catches, do they do the same thing for infield plays?
I mean, maybe they do. That's your crowd. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm in the rules crowd. And you're breaking them right now.
Well, you cross over into multiple crowds. Foul ball out of play. Floro readies himself, staring over the top of that glove. And the 2-1 to Schwarber is low. 3 balls and a strike. All eyes are looking down that way. A fan may have been hit by that line drive into foul ground. Right field, Irvin will make the play, and the Cubs are down to their final out. Russell, a quiet day. DeSclafani will win it. He will go to 3-1. Farrell will get the loss. That's a tough loss for him. He only gave up 2 runs, and it was a 2-1 game when they took him out with a runner at first and 2 outs in the 3rd inning. Cubs are batting .183 in the first 3 games of this series against Reds pitching, and bear in mind they came into this series leading the National League as a team in batting average. Reds have out-hit him today 11-5. Fouled out of play by Happ. 0-2. Floro trying to put it away. In the air, foul territory. This one's going to drop in play, but Unable to get there was Flora. No chance for the third baseman Suarez. He's playing the shortstop position with this shift they have on Happ. It's a long run there by Flora to try to get over that baseball. So now he'll catch his breath and try and notch the final out of this game. Put a base hit into right field. Cubbies not calling it quits yet.
Boy, in this ballpark, Ian Happ just swings a magic wand.
I mean, it's incredible. It's just incredible. And really the same with Schwarber. I mean, Schwarber's hitting .230 this year. Happ is batting .220. And against the Reds, they're hitting .450. So now the batter will be Jimenez. Came on to pitch the bottom of the 8th, gave up the 3-run home run to Votto. Strike one. Reds an out away from a 6th straight win and their 9th victory in the last 11 games. You go back even further than that. You go back to the 8th of May. The 8th of May. And here we are, you know, June the 23rd. The Reds have the 3rd best record in the Central Division, but it's 5 games over 500. I mean, the Brewers are 10 over since the 8th of May. The Cubs will be 8 over. The Reds will be 5 games over 500 since the end of the first week of May. Cardinals finish off the Brewers today. That is now a final. Norris, who blew it last night, able to save it today. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Rounded to third. This ought to do it. Suarez to second base, and that's it. The Reds have beaten the Cubbies for a 3rd straight day of this series and will go for the series sweep tomorrow. And they have beaten the Cubs for the first time in a 4-game series since 2014. Second 6-game win streak of this year. So good stuff going on right now with the Redlegs. They win it by a final count of 11-2. Back with more in a moment.